Hey guys, Ali Washburn here. Today I would like to share with you about the quickest music tip ever when it's come to transposing, which is something, a lot of musicians can struggle with. I know for me it's kind of tricky to understand it. Basically, you got one song in one key and then you're playing with a guitarist who puts on a capo onto the third fret and then it's like, wait, what key am I playing in now? It's really just like a brain exercise and you really got to think about it. So today I'm hoping to share with you a little bit about that and hopefully it'll be super helpful and let's get started. So before we get into transposing, it's really helpful to know about the scales, which again, you could take years and years of music theory and learn all about these different types of scales, but we're going to keep it simple. We're going to keep it to the your small town musicians right now, just to save everybody the time. So let's start with a key of C scale. Now, the thing about the key of C is a lot of people really like it, and the reason is there's no sharps in it. Now, sharps are these black keys. Sharps are flats. Those are the black keys up there because they're the sharp or flat of whatever the white key is. So in the key of C, there is no sharps or flats, which makes it a pretty simple key to work with, and it's also a key that a lot of people can sing in fairly comfortably. So that's why it's a very common key for choirs and other music-minded people around the world. So in the key of C, you have C, which is your root, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. Now this is called an octave because there's 8 notes in it. Octave. Now, the simple thing that, is hopefully going to be pretty easy to remember, whatever the key you are playing in is your root key. So if you are in the key of C, I'm hoping you guys are going to know this, the root key in there is C. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. C is your root. So there are there's a lot of chords that make up a key, and the more complex the song, the more different types of chords you're going to see. There are 3 chords that show up in almost every key in any song ever, and that is your root, your major 4th, and your major 5th. So your root, as we just said, is the key of whatever song is. So if we're playing a song in the key of C, then your root chord is C. That's a C chord. Now a C chord has 3 notes. That's a C, E, and G. It's nice full sound. We love the key of C. Now we're going to go to the 4. So if we were going to count up this scale and we were going to stop at the 4th note, that would be the 4 chord in the key of C. So if we were to count up C, D, E, F, which means F is our 4 chord, because if we were playing a song, you hear that transition a lot, the root key to the major 4th. Now the other one is the major 5th, which if we just talked with F, 2, 3, 4, 5, this note is a G note, which means your major 5th chord is a G. G chord, which means if we were playing a 1-4-1-5 chord progression, which is fairly common in a lot of folk music, actually a lot of songs have this chord progression. If we were to play that, we would start with the C, F, C, G, that's the 1-4-1-5 chord progression. It is very common in a lot of bluegrass music and a lot of songs all over, just because it's a simple chord progression, but there's a lot of different melodies you can work with it. So let's say we were singing a song in the key of C, but then we realized this song is really hard to sing in C because it's too high, which You know, we've all been there. We've started singing a song and then all of a sudden, you know, sound like an opera singer and it kind of hurts, which is really not good for your vocal cords. So let's say we were going to take that C chord and take it to the key of G, which is a little bit lower, because if we were going to go down, G note. We just took this root chord down to a G root chord, which means we're in the key of G. Now let's suppose we want to take that and find, okay, well, what's our 4 chord in the key of G? Well, this is when it gets a little bit trickier because the key of G has one sharp. That's an F sharp, and it's a part of your D chord. So that's when it gets a little tricky, because why do we have a sharp in this key and not the other one? Well, the reason for that is because of the scale shape as the way the scales are, which we'll talk about in a later video. For now, just not worry about the sharp. We're going to go into that. I'll go in depth in that later. So for now, we'll just consider what will be our 4 chord in the key of G. Well, if we were to count up, G, A, B, C. C, which again, 4 chord, you see that a lot in a lot of songs. And, you know, pretty much any Christian worship song has G, C, and D, which D is your 5 chord. D. It's just kind of a fun chord progression, you know, you see it a lot, and, you know, that's kind of how to basically transpose it. So if we were to take this to a more complex key, like the key of E, which has a lot of sharps, let's see. 1, 2, 3. That's 4 sharps, which that's kind of tricky to work with. Now, the reason that there are a certain number of sharps is because there's these things in music, not to over music theory, y'all, because this is supposed to be a short and simple video, but in music, these scales, a white key to a white key with a black key in the middle, like a D to an E chord, that's called a whole step. It's because if you were to count every note in between it, there's only one. This sharp, this C sharp. That's a whole step. Same with F to G, because there's an F sharp in between them. Or a G to an A to a B. Now here's when it gets a little bit more tricky, is when we gotta factor in the moments when we don't have a black key in between. If you can see the keyboard here, you can see that there's these gaps in between certain notes. There's no black key in between an F or an E and an F or a B and a C. So right there, those ones that don't have the black keys in between, those are called half steps because there's no key in between them. So here's the trick that's gonna hopefully save you a lot of time and not make you have to take years and years of music theory, is in every single chord, in every single key, there is all whole steps, except there's a half step in between the 3rd and the 4th, and the 7th and the 8th. So in the key of C, you'd see whole, C, whole, half, whole, half. It's that little jump in between them. That's the E and the F key, and then the B and the C key in the key of C. Now, if we were to take that to the key of G, we would need to factor in, okay, well, we know there's a half step between the 3 and the 4 and the 7 and the 8. So if we started with our 1, which is the root, G, A, B, half step to C, D, E, F sharp. That's a whole step to the F sharp as well. We don't play the F note in the key of G. F sharp, and then a half step to the G. There you go. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. I'm going to elaborate on this more presently. So stay tuned and please like and subscribe my YouTube channel. Thank you so much, you guys. And stay tuned for more.